This page is the front cover of a magazine that is focused on Nintendo 64. It's issue volume 41, and it proclaims itself as the strongest history's N64 specialized magazine. The cover features Donkey Kong in a prominent central pose, alongside Diddy Kong and Tiny Kong. Key highlights mentioned on the cover include a special interview with Shigeru Miyamoto, a donkey-themed Teleca, likely a telephone card or similar promotional item, as a present for all readers, Pokemon Gold and Silver, N64 Software Perfect Capture Catalog as a special appendix. Game titles visible on the cover also include Zelda no Densetsu Gaiden, The Legend of Zelda Gaiden, likely referring to Majora's Mask, though the name is not the official title. Paper Mario RPG Miracles, Powerful Pro Yaku 2000, Power Pro Baseball 2000, Hot Blood Monster King, King Kong 64, Donkey Kong 64, but Monsters. The cover indicates this issue is for February 2000 and priced at 490 yen. This page is for the Game Boy Color title Grand Duel, Deep Dungeon's Treasure, a hot-blooded adventure dungeon card battle game. The cover art shows the main character holding a card, with a cute pink creature at his side, facing a large shadowy monster in the background. This page is an advertisement for the game Grand Duel, a card battle game where your strategy and tactics evolve card battles. The advert highlights duels with rivals making you stronger, and exploring dungeons to collect cards, with approximately 8,000 types of cards available in total. Screenshots show in-game battles and dungeon exploration. The game is currently on sale for 4,500 yen excluding tax. There is also a campaign for original goods, where by answering a questionnaire included in the product version, you can win prizes like a Grand Duel card battle basic set, a bottom-up tour, or a Grand Duel travel set. The game is developed and sold by Bottom Up Company, Limited. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Super Bombless DX, a puzzle game boasting 100 stages and versus play. It highlights the game's Deca-Bomb feature, where large bombs create chain reactions, and describes cute, obstructive characters that appear in fight mode, causing trouble during gameplay. The advertisement mentions the game is Game Boy Color compatible and is priced at 3,980 yen, excluding tax, published by Bulletproof Software. It also promotes the Tetris Club for fans to join. This page is the contents page for the magazine, and it lists the features and articles included in this issue. It highlights a Miyamoto Shigeru long interview, and mentions developer interviews are also included. Games featured are Pocket Monster Gold and Silver, Donkey Kong 64, Zelda Gaiden, Kirby 64, Super Mario RPG 2, Star Twins, Biohazard 2, Resident Evil 2, Gauntlet, GameCube Powerful Pro Yaku 2000, Power Pro Baseball 2000, 64DD Communication, SFC and GB Information Bureau, Super Robot Tyson 64, Super Robot Wars 64, and Bomberman 2. There are also regular sections, like Reader Mail, News, New Software Release Calendar, 64Dream Ranking, 64 Software Catalog, NP and GB Release Calendar, Game Software Fan Club 2, and various columns and reader participation sections. The page also includes a game index listing game titles and page numbers, categorized by console, including titles like Top Gear Hyperbike, Top Gear Pocket 2, Top Gear Rally 2, Donkey Kong 64, Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, Biohazard 2, Bomberman 2, Pocket Pro Baseball, Pocket Monster Gold and Silver, Kirby 64, Macross 7, Marie and Ely's Atelier GB, Rayman, Robot Pankotsu 64, and others. This page is a new release calendar for N64 software, looking ahead to the year 2000 and highlighting the fierce year-end sales battle. It's a monthly calendar for January, including historical events and some game releases. The page notes a service change for the 64DD, indicating delays for users who were eagerly awaiting it. GameCube Powerful Pro Baseball 2000, provisional title, is announced as coming soon, described as a gale appearance. The impact of the Taiwan earthquake is discussed, causing a deepening shortage of ROM cartridges and potentially affecting the release dates of games like Star Twins and Goemon. The Coming Soon section features 4 games: Shoro Q64-2 Hachimecha Grand Prix Race, Robot Pankotsu 64-7 Seas Caramel, Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, which is known as Akumajo Dracula Shinkisuke, Legend of Cornell in Japan, and Ganbare Goemon, Mononoke Sugoroku. Screenshots of these games are also displayed. Two N64 game rankings are presented. The reader-selected anticipated new games top 20 features highly anticipated titles, with Zelda Gaiden, Majora's Mask, Donkey Kong 64, and Mother 3, Earthbound 64, leading the list. Other notable entries include Kirby 64, Mario Party 2, and Paper Mario. The second ranking. This month's best-selling N64 software top 10 shows current sales leaders. Super Smash Bros. Is number 1, followed by Super Robot Wars 64 and Bomberman 64. The second attack. Other top sellers include Space Station Silicon Valley, Star Twins, Pokemon Stadium 2, and Mario Kart 64. Donkey Kong 64's anticipation increased due to TV ads. Space Station Silicon Valley, Star Twins, is described as a shooting game from Rare, praised for its maps, weaponry, and puzzle elements. This page compiles game rankings from reader polls across multiple platforms. The first ranking, Tears! Games That Made Us Cry Top 30, features N64 titles like The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, along with PlayStation and Super Famicom entries such as Metal Gear Solid, Chrono Trigger, and Earthbound. The GB Software Recommended Top 30 chart focuses on Game Boy games, with Pokemon Red, Green, and Pikachu versions leading the list, followed by The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening DX, and Pokemon Gold and Silver versions. Lastly, the Nintendo Power Rewrite Count Top 10 ranks Super Famicom games based on rewrite frequency, with Fire Emblem, Thracia, 776 at the top. The page also includes a section on emotionally impactful games, specifically citing Earthbound, Mother 2, and Dragon Quest V as tear-jerking examples. This page is dedicated to The Legend of Zelda, Gaiden, Kari, which is the Japanese title for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It's highlighted as a 3D action RPG from Nintendo, scheduled for release in March 2000, priced at 6,800 yen. And for one player. It's mentioned that the game requires the Memory Expansion Pack and is compatible with the Rumble Pack. The page previews the game's snowy mountain setting, featuring Gorons, and emphasizes the unusual weather conditions caused by the moon. Screenshots show Link in a cold environment interacting with Gorons, highlighting the freezing cold, and the dialogue focusing on the harsh winter conditions. The text suggests that this new Zelda game will be different from Ocarina of Time, creating a new and interesting experience with its unique atmosphere and scenarios. This page is focused on the Goron mask in The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. It highlights the new Fire Punch to Goro move, which is a powered-up punch, and the Marumari Dash, a rolling dash move. The page draws a comparison to the Cool Mountain stage from Super Mario 64 to evoke a sense of snowy environments. It also discusses the Goron's taiko drum, suggesting that when Link wears the Goron mask, the Ocarina button might be replaced by a taiko drum function, allowing him to play it. There's also a section titled Story of the Subtitled Decision Day, where it's mentioned that the subtitle for the new Zelda game was still undecided on December 3rd. Miyamoto is quoted saying that they were deciding on the subtitle that very day, with options like Gaiden, Side Story, being considered, but with some resistance in Japan. Ultimately, they were leaning towards subtitles related to masks, like Hollow Circle's Mask, suggesting titles like Ocarina of Masks or Mask of Masks. The page features screenshots of gameplay with Link wearing the Goron mask, item icons including the Goron mask, and a photo of Shigeru Miyamoto. It shows screenshots from the SFC, Game Boy, and N64 versions of the Legend of Zelda games to showcase the series' history leading up to Ocarina of Time on N64. This page previews a new game, potentially a Zelda title, featuring a Deku Nuts Kingdom and standalone adventures. Link, currently in Deku form, may encounter the Deku King. The page suggests helping a monkey child character, as it is likely important later. A new enemy, Korra, a turtle-like creature, is introduced. Swords are ineffective against Kadura's hard shell, but flipping it over with a hammer reveals a weak point and a comical expression. The game highlights new environments, characters, and enemies, emphasizing the recurring helpfulness of monkeys in Nintendo games, and remembering Korra's introduction. This report details the development of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, following its Space World reveal. Miyamoto is producing, not directing, ensuring progress alongside the Ocarina of Time team. The team, initially smaller, has grown to approximately 70% the size of the previous game's staff. While the game system builds on its predecessor, it introduces new elements that were well received in America. Targeted for a summer release, a March launch is considered if feasible. Localization is a key challenge. With a small international team, the developers are prioritizing both quality and a broad appeal. Considering feedback on playtime and endings, the screenshot highlights the game's darker tone, differentiating it from Ocarina of Time. This page is an advertisement for Donkey Kong 64, an action game developed by Rare and published by Nintendo. It highlights that the game is already on sale for 7,800 yen, which includes the memory expansion pack needed to play. The game supports 1 to 4 players and is also compatible with the Rumble Pack. The page mentions Strategy Bulletin, suggesting upcoming strategy guides, and promotes the game as a great adventure with Kongs, showing the main Kong family characters. This guide details how to rescue Tiny, Lanky, and Chunky Kong in Donkey Kong 64. To rescue Tiny in Aztec Wind, use Diddy's weapon switch inside the pyramid to activate a platform, use the guitar, and solve the Kaong block puzzle. To rescue Lanky, now playing as Donkey Kong, go to the temple, play the bongos to melt the lava, and use the weapon switch in his room. Rescuing Lanky unlocks tag barrels. Finally, to rescue Chunky in Mad Factory using Lanky, use a handstand to climb the pipes and hip drop on the Kong switch. This page is focused on the game Donkey Kong 64 and highlights various gameplay mechanics and abilities for different Kong characters. It starts by explaining how to get the Feather Bowgun and Micro Kong from Funky and Cranky Kong, emphasizing that Tiny Kong uses the Feather Bowgun and Micro Kong to reach new areas. The page then details the Handwalk ability, teaching players that Lanky Kong's Handwalk allows climbing slopes and accessing previously unreachable spots. It further explains how Tiny Kong's Micro Kong ability shrinks her down to enter small spaces and collect golden bananas. The guide also covers the Grape Shooter weapon, mentioning Funky Kong and a weapon switch that leads to a minigame. The Pineapple Launcher is featured next, describing how to use it to hit X-marked spots, revealing hidden areas and more golden bananas. Finally, the Great Chunky ability is explained, showing how making Chunky Kong large opens up new areas and minigame challenges. Overall, the page serves as a gameplay guide, walking players through key abilities and items to progress in Donkey Kong 64 and collect items. This page is a guide for Donkey Kong 64. It details several sections of the game, starting with Diddy and Cooperation, which explains using Diddy's barrel jet to reach a Kong switch on the roof of a temple, then entering the temple to get a golden banana. The next section, Combined Puzzle Room, describes a sound puzzle where players must hit panels with weapons based on the sounds they make. Slider Race introduces a slider race that Diddy can access after using the sound pad to become small. The Hagita to Fall section guides players to use Grape Shooter against a Hagita enemy holding a golden banana, leading to a battle arena. Finally, Carry the Big Rock is about using Chunky Kong to move large rocks in a pop-matching puzzle to obtain another golden banana, highlighting Chunky's strength. The next page talks about the Mad Factory stage in Donkey Kong 64, which is located on Kremling's artificial island. This stage is described as a complicated mechanical toy factory. To get golden bananas here, cooperation is key. The page highlights the inclusion of the original Donkey Kong arcade game within Donkey Kong 64. To play it, you need to go to Cranky Kong's lab. By using the Kong pad for a barrel blast and passing through a DK star, you can access a room where a Donkey Kong arcade machine is located. This is presented as a complete port of the classic arcade game. The page also explains how to use the Gorilla Hand ability in the Mad Factory stage. It mentions going to a small house that's actually a toy-making machine. By using a weapon switch and pulling a lever with the Gorilla Hand, you can activate machinery. It's mentioned that Strong Kong, Strong DK, becomes invincible and can get a golden banana here. Other Kongs have to use Kong switches in a large machine room and climb to find 4 golden bananas. This page is about Donkey Kong 64 and gives gameplay tips for different mechanics and challenges within the game. It details Spring Tail, which involves using Cranky Kong's Spring Tail ability to reach high places with Kong pads. Lanky Balloon explains how Lanky Kong's balloon ability can be used in conjunction with Kong pads to reach even higher places. There's a section on Darts for Banana, describing a minigame where you use darts to hit banana targets. Lanky's Sound Matching is another minigame where you need to match sounds using Lanky Kong. Kart Racing is about the kart racing minigame, where you need to collect 10 coins within 2 laps to win a golden banana. Chunky's Punch Punch explains using Chunky Kong's punch attack to defeat enemies. Finally, Mad Jack is presented as a stage boss. advising players to collect 200 bananas to use a special action to fight him. It mentions that Mad Jack attacks from boxes, and players need to hit switches of the same color as the block he's on when he stops to attack. The Galleon level in Donkey Kong 64 requires 30 golden bananas to enter, accessible after defeating the Aztec Wind Boss and reaching Cranky. Key objectives include: open the door, achieved by activating weapon switches with Donkey, Diddy, and Chunky. You can transform into Engarde by entering the animal crate in the sunken ship, allowing access to underwater areas and a treasure room. Another task is the seal and boat race. Hitting DK stars with DK star pads frees a seal, initiating a boat race that rewards a golden banana. Finally, light the lighthouse by pulling the lever at the top. This causes a pirate ship to appear, potentially granting more golden bananas. This guide details strategies for Donkey Kong 64. To obtain the Mermaid's Pearl, use Tiny Kong in a Kong barrel to shrink and access a treasure chest. 5 pearls are found near the lighthouse. Inside the Fish describes entering a mechanical fish by using a barrel jet from the lighthouse island. Entering the submarine ship requires lowering the water level, jumping to the pirate ship, and hip dropping to enter. Inside, break a Chunky Kong barrel for a golden banana. Finally, the guide covers the stage boss, Paftos, a sea urchin battled on a boat. Attack Paftos by passing DK stars, and dodge his shockwaves by staying at the edge of the boat. This page is dedicated to Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, highlighting a new gameplay mechanic called Ability Mix. The article explains that Kirby, already popular, is set to be even bigger in 2000, thanks to this new feature, where he can combine 2 abilities to become even stronger. The page uses screenshots to illustrate this, demonstrating how Kirby first obtains the Cutter ability, then the Fire ability. By mixing these 2 together, Kirby gains a new ability described as the Sword of Flame, which is presented as a powerful and cool-looking upgrade. The text expresses curiosity about a circle and bar icon shown in the game screen's bottom left, questioning its meaning in relation to this new mixing ability feature. This page is about ability mixing in Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. The page highlights the stone ability and demonstrates what happens when you mix 2 stone abilities together. It explains that ability mixing isn't just for combining different abilities, but you can also combine 2 of the same ability for enhanced effects. The page shows that using a single stone ability results in a normal stone Kirby, but mixing 2 stone abilities makes Kirby much larger and suggests a significant power increase. The article seems excited about the potential of ability combinations in the game. This page is a preview for the tentatively titled Super Mario RPG 2, which would eventually be released internationally as Paper Mario. The article highlights the game's eye-catching, picture book-like graphics, calling them very appealing. It's mentioned as a highly anticipated RPG of the year 2000. The preview reveals the surprising news that Princess Peach is being kidnapped again. The information box on the right side lists the game's title as Super Mario RPG 2 Tentative, the publisher as Nintendo, a planned release date in 2000, a price of 6,800 yen, the genre as RPG, the number of players as undecided, and notes support for the Rumble Pack and a backup cartridge. The text emphasizes that Mario is not just going to stand by while Peach is kidnapped this time. The bottom text boxes describe Mario receiving news and setting off on an adventure, suggesting Peach has been kidnapped again, and questions if this is another evil scheme, urging Mario not to lose and to do his best. This page is a preview of Paper Mario, showcasing the game's unique visual style and gameplay. The text mentions Peach has been kidnapped, and Mario is ready to take action using his hammer. The screenshots highlight different aspects of the game, showing Mario exploring towns like Kanoko Town, engaging in battles with enemies like Goombas and Koopa Troopas, and using action commands in battle, described as being like selecting scenes in a film. It also points out Mario's signature jump ability for collecting coins, a key feature of the game. The game is presented as having a surprising depth, despite its graphical style. This page is about the Nintendo 64 game Earthworm Jim Bass Fishing. Originally released in Japan as Itoi Shigesato no Bass Tsuri No. 1 Ketaiban. The page highlights it as an untamed fishing game for even first-time fishing game players. It emphasizes the realistic aspects, where predicting the fish's location in the lake is key, making it more than just a point-based fishing game. The page also mentions the lure's movements are crucial and are realistically depicted in 3Ds, encouraging players to master lure control. It notes that different lures, colors, and sizes are important depending on the time of day and location to catch bigger fish. Game details mention it was expected to be released in April 2000 for 6,800 yen, supports one player, vibration packs, and the fishing controller. This page is about the N64 fishing game, Fish Eyes Wild. It highlights the game's unique dual camera system, which allows players to view both above and below the water simultaneously while fishing. The page emphasizes the realistic nature of the game, with changing weather and time of day affecting the fishing experience. It mentions that the game uses 3D space to create a natural environment. Screenshots showcase the gameplay, menus, and a large bass that has been caught. The page also introduces Hikone no Norio, a returning character from a previous SFC game who adds to the game's friendly atmosphere and can participate in fishing competitions. The game seems to aim for a realistic and engaging fishing simulation experience on the N64. The next page focuses on experiencing real fishing in a game, highlighting Bass Rush Dream Fishing for the N64. It explains how the Kaeru frog icon on the screen is crucial for understanding the fishing situation. The frog's expressions and colors indicate the tension of the fishing line and the bass's behavior. The page also points out other gauges on the screen that provide information, such as water depth and the distance to the bass. It mentions that boat fishing is also an option, allowing players to freely explore the lake in an aluminum boat and enjoy a different style of fishing. The article suggests that even just riding around in the boat and looking at the scenery is enjoyable. This page showcases the Suricon 64 fishing controller for the Nintendo 64. It emphasizes how this dedicated controller heightens the fishing game experience, offering realistic sensations. The page details several features of the controller, highlighting its industry-first reel resistance mechanism that simulates the pull of a fish, and a drag adjustment for line control. It also boasts an acceleration sensor for casting, a vibration motor for feeling the fish bite, and a realistic rod and reel design for immersive gameplay. The controller is promoted for various playstyles, including a beginner-friendly help mode, a story mode with challenges, a leisurely fishing competition mode, and a mode to learn the true joy of fishing. The specifications panel on the right lists the product name as Suricon 64, indicating it's intended for bass fishing. The release date is tied to the Strongest Bass Fishing #1 Definitive Edition game. The price is 5,980 yen, excluding tax. It details the controller's dimensions, weight, battery type, 2 AA batteries, button layout, including 3D stick, A, B, R, start, QNIT, and Z trigger, and a 2.5 meters cable length. The page generally promotes the Suricon 64 as the ultimate way to experience fishing games on the N64, promising a more immersive and realistic fishing simulation. This page is dedicated to the game Star Twins, a shooting adventure title developed by Rareware and published by Nintendo. The game was already on sale from December 1st in Japan and priced at 6,800 yen. It supports 1 to 4 players and is compatible with the Rumble Pack and backup cartridge. The page features prominent artwork of the two main characters and a dog-like creature companion. The large text on the left promotes the game with the phrases, "Ninja Universe, protect peace," and emphasizes, "With one dog, a vast galaxy to conquer and a great attack." Below this, there are screenshots showcasing in-game environments and gameplay. This page is about the N64 game Tofret, which was only released in Japan. It introduces the zombie drone appearance stage, where the player, Juno, lands on planet Tofret and faces zombie drones that are unlike anything seen before and are resistant to standard weaponry, so you have to avoid them. The page then moves on to King Jeff's Confession, where King Jeff, a tribal king-like character, reveals his mistakes that led to the planet's demise. He gives the player the powerful tri-launcher weapon to help. Finally, it touches on the conspiracy attacking Tofret, focusing on King Jeff's distress about his tribal people and the fact that the power of the tribal stone has been turned into a weapon, which seems to be the core conflict of the game. This page is about the Floyd rescue in Glover 2. It introduces Floyd, a broken-down flying drone from the stone-built mansion in the depths of the forest. Juno encounters Floyd, who has defied Mike Kiltzer and been torn apart into 4 pieces. The mission is to rescue Floyd by collecting all his scattered parts within the stage. The page details finding Floyd's head, body, and propeller, and mentions that one part is in a smoky area, and another requires a key held by Gimlet, who will give an important item if defeated. Once all parts are collected, Floyd is revived and becomes a helpful companion. The page also announces two-player gameplay with Floyd in this. In this mode, one player controls Glover, and the other player controls Floyd. Floyd can fly and attack enemies, providing extra firepower and support, especially when Glover cannot attack directly. It suggests this two-player mode is enjoyable for friends to play together. This page highlights two games. The first game is Sekhmet. It introduces the character Bela from the Jet Force Gemini team, noting her skill in underwater missions. The text describes gameplay inside the Sekhmet ship, emphasizing it's a dangerous zone filled with traps and hazards. It instructs players to acquire key items to progress, mentioning that in this stage, Bela needs to obtain two keys hidden in difficult locations. The screenshots show gameplay with Bela in 3D environments, one showing a drone enemy that must be defeated with projectiles, and another showing a key item hidden behind glass. The second game is Spawn Ship. This section introduces Roops, a robot dog, and another member of the Jet Force Gemini team. It mentions Roops' unique ability to hover in the air for a certain period by pressing the jump button again mid-air. This hovering ability is emphasized as crucial for navigating stages, especially early on. The screenshots showcase Roops using his hover ability to traverse platforms and engage enemies. One screenshot highlights acquiring a sniper rifle, which enables zoom functionality. The text also mentions that Roops can easily handle traps that would trouble Juno or Vela. This page is all about Biohazard 2, known internationally as Resident Evil 2, on the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's hidden game and hidden costume reveal. The page showcases images of Leon S. Kennedy in different costumes. One section focuses on a grunge t-shirt, leather pants costume for Leon, describing it as a costume change. It shows screenshots of Leon in this alternative outfit, noting that he looks less like a police officer and more like a bad guy with sunglasses. Another section, Costume Change After, highlights Leon in his standard Raccoon Police Department uniform, labeled Default Costume, and compares it to the alternative costume. The text explains that, by fulfilling certain conditions in the game, you can change Leon's costume and enjoy gameplay with a different look, distinct from the original N64 version's costume, implying this is a new or special feature. The page also includes game information, like the title, publisher, Capcom, release date, January 28, 2000, price, 7,800 yen, required memory, 512 M plus backup, genre, survival horror, player count, 1 player, and compatibility with vibration packs and memory expansion packs. This page is focused on Biohazard 2, which is known internationally as Resident Evil 2. It's highlighting two special scenarios called the Fourth Survivor and the Tofu Survivor. The Fourth Survivor scenario stars He-Ung-K, a Special Forces operative of Umbrella, tasked with retrieving the G-Virus. The screenshots show gameplay from this scenario, emphasizing the limited resources and the need to escape hordes of zombies within a time limit. It mentions that this mode is like an extra story or scenario within the main game, and provides a different kind of challenge. The Tofu Survivor is described as another mode using a tofu character who speaks in a Kansai dialect, emphasizing its humorous but challenging nature, where you only have a combat knife as a weapon. The page describes both modes as offering intense and exciting gameplay despite their different tones. This page is all about Bomberman 2, detailing the Pommy evolution system. It highlights that Pommy, Bomberman's partner, can evolve based on the food Bomberman feeds it. The game is published by Hudson and was released on December 3rd, priced at 6,800 yen. It's a 3D action game supporting 1 to 4 players, and is compatible with both the Vibration Pack and Controller Pack. The main focus of the page is the BC Pommy evolution chart, showcasing Pommy's transformations across 4 levels. Level 1 starts with the basic Pommy, progressing to Level 2 with forms like Pommy Animal and Pommy Knuckle. Level 3 shows Pommy Beast, Pommy Penguin, Pommy Crow, and Pommy Hammer. Finally, Level 4 presents a wide array of evolutions, such as Pommy Dinah, Pommy Chicken, Pommy Nakomi, Pommy Knight, Pommy Bard, Pommy Puchitebi, Pommy Dragon, and Pommy Magic. The text explains that giving Pommy meat will cause it to evolve in the direction of the blue arrows on the chart, while giving it vegetables will lead to evolutions indicated by the red arrows. The article also hints at secret, hidden evolution paths beyond these. An in-game screenshot shows Bomberman and Pommy in a level, suggesting the gameplay involves cooperation with the evolved Pommy. This page is detailing the Starlight Casino level from Bomberman 64. It's a guide showing how to progress through the level, starting from the beginning. The guide explains that the initial enemy, a bomber soldier, isn't the real problem, but rather the iron barrels that need to be destroyed with bombs to proceed. It points out there are only 2 breakable barrels in the area. The next section is about switches, indicating that in areas with fountains, there are switches hidden in separate rooms both above and below. Activating both switches is needed to proceed to the underground passage and elevator. The guide then moves to a section called 777 is a big hit, explaining a room with a slot machine floor. To open the exit, players need to destroy the panels in the order of slot machine numbers. Specifically, destroy the slot tiles in reverse order of appearance to open the exit and get custom parts. The final section is about collecting cards. It mentions a roulette room, where trump card icons appear in the center. Collecting these cards in the correct order, heart, club, diamond, then spade, and placing them in the water fountain will open the path to the gravity generator room. The page also features Lord Baal, who is described as a cold-hearted female knight and the boss of the Thunder Emperor stage, attacking with thunderclouds. The next page delves into a stage called Earth's Woe Star Neverland from Bomberman 64. It highlights different areas and challenges within this magma-themed level. We start at the Magma Star Arrival, point where Bomberman and Pommy must navigate fiery paths, being careful not to fall into cracks which will instantly defeat them. Next, the guide shows how to use a lift to reach the opposite side of a gap, noting it's slow and requires throwing bombs at switches to advance. For opening doors using switches, you first clear a room of enemies, then proceed through a lever room, using bombs to manipulate obstacles and open the required door. A similar switch mechanism is used to access the boss room. The guide then moves on to the Passage is Careful Fire section, emphasizing caution in outdoor passages due to erupting fire hazards that can damage Bomberman. Finally, it introduces the boss of this stage, Raging Earth Moroku, the 7th Guardian, who is described as a powerful Earth-based enemy capable of grabbing and swinging players if they get too close. This page is a preview of the N64 game Gauntlet Legends, welcoming players to a world of swords and sorcery. It's an action RPG for 1 to 4 players and supports controller packs and rumble. The game tasks players with defeating the Demon Lord Scorn across 7 worlds to find keys and items, ultimately aiming for Scorn's final stage. The page introduces the 4 selectable characters: Wizard, Valkyrie, Warrior, and Archer, each with descriptions of their strengths and weaknesses. The Wizard is strong in magic but weaker in power and defense. The Valkyrie is balanced for beginners. The Warrior excels in melee, with strong attack power, recommended for beginners. The Archer, using ranged attacks, is mobile, but has weaker attack and defense, recommended for experienced players. There's a section on the history of the Gauntlet series, noting that the N64 version is a port of the arcade game Gauntlet Legends, a remake of the classic Gauntlet. It mentions the original Gauntlet, debuted in 1985, and was popular for its 4-player fantasy action. The text notes that in Japan, the Mega Drive version of Gauntlet was ported to allow 4-player gameplay, showing the series' appeal. This page features a strategy chart for Super Robot Wars 64. It is a simulation RPG for 1 player, priced at 7,800 yen, and requires a 64 GB pack. The chart appears to be a gameplay flow diagram illustrating the branching paths and scenarios within the game, starting from Departure to Chaos, and leading to various battles and story developments, including Final Battle. The text boxes within the flowchart describe different scenarios and battles, suggesting a complex narrative with multiple outcomes. The page also has text describing the game as the final decisive battle in the series, meant to defend peace on Earth, and mentions that this is the culmination of the Super Robot Wars 64 story. The next page focuses on strategy points for various maps in what seems to be a strategy game, likely related to the Super Robot Wars series given the characters and mecha themes. It provides tips for different scenarios, outlining victory and defeat conditions for each. The first scenario, titled Galactic Empire Army Vanguard Fleet, details using characters like Nita and Takel for recruitment, and mentions conditions for recruiting Rose. The next section, Beast Machine Base General Attack, advises completing the map within 10 turns, and focuses on defeating Dunkerga while defending the base area. Fierce Fight, Rantau Island Great Decisive Battle Part 1 scenario gives strategies for Doman and Master units, suggesting using stone-breaking heavenly first training and defeating Master Asia. The Axis Offense and Defense Part 1 section includes tips for recruiting characters like Mishimre and Chara with Judao, and mentions reinforcements when enemy units are below 5. Other scenarios like Unjust Battle, Axis Offense and Defense Middle Chapter, and Axis Offense and Defense Last Chapter continue to provide specific tactical advice, referencing characters such as Glemmy, Puru II, Haman, and Gakkedo, and conditions for achieving success or failure in each map. There's also a section on Nightmare Revisitation and Last Roar, each with victory and defeat conditions and gameplay hints. Characters such as Allenby and Doman are mentioned in relation to specific scenarios. This strategy guide details gameplay scenarios for a mecha strategy game, likely from the Super Robot Wars series. The guide outlines victory and defeat conditions for numerous missions. Scenarios cover character recruitment, Nida, Marge, Todd, Philo, defending Cusco with timed reinforcements, and battles involving Doman, Master, and Allenby. Events trigger based on unit counts and character interactions, like Persuading Rain. Other scenarios involve Haman, Judo, and chaotic battles with Gundam characters. The guide also covers confronting the powerful Gerd Doom, invading 5th Luna, battling the Devil Gundam with Char's involvement, a large-scale battle in space, and finally, a fight against almighty Sights. Many scenarios include morale boosts, map ending conditions, and unique reinforcement timings. This page is all about Super Robot Wars Alpha for the PlayStation. It's showcasing the game's combination attacks, detailing the various robot combinations that can unleash powerful moves like the Shuffle Alliance Fist with God, Maxter, Rose, Dragon, and Bolt Gundams, or the Triple Mazinger Punch featuring Mazinger Z, Great Mazinger, and Grendizer. The page highlights other combination attacks as well, like the Love Tankyoken, Double Godfinger, and Jetstream Attack, using Drayson from the Black Tri-Stars, and even Gazastorm formation with Gazoom. There are also mentions of Twin Beam, Mazinger Tornado, Final Dynamic Special, Double Mazinger Boomerang, Twin Aura Attack, and Shurai Tenryu Mametsujin attacks. Screenshots show in-game battle scenes with robots engaged in combat, displaying health bars and character dialogues. One screenshot mentions SRX combination and encourages Ryusei, while another notes that Macross pinpoint barriers are usable. An article on the right talks about the depth of the game, suggesting that even after beating it once, there's still more to explore with multiple main characters and branching storylines. It asks if readers are familiar with anime like Goshogun, Toki no Ibarahito, and Giant Robo, and encourages them to dive into the expansive world of Super Robot Wars. It also shares a fun fact that Grendizer was originally Getter Robo G. Game details mention the title is Super Robot Wars Alpha, published by Banpresto, released on February 24, 2000, priced at 6,980 yen, and is a simulation RPG for the PlayStation. The next page is an exciting preview for 2 baseball games, GQ Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000 for the N64, and Power Pro Kun Pocket 2 for the Game Boy Color. It's an emergency announcement that Power Pro is coming for the year 2000, continuing the annual tradition. The article highlights new features and upgrades for the N64 version, promising it will be even better. It also announces Power Pro Kun Pocket 2, which is also highly anticipated, and will link with the N64 game. The page teases details about the success mode in both games, questioning what kind of success stories will unfold this time, referencing previous scenarios like pro players, high school, and university students. The text emphasizes the desire to play the game quickly, and promises more screenshots and details in the next issue. Screenshots from both games are featured, showcasing gameplay and player stats. Both games are sports games focused on baseball and were released only in Japan. This page showcases the N64 game Robot Pankatsu 64, 7 Seas of Caramel, an RPG for 1 to 2 players by Hudson, released on December 24th. It's highlighted as the N64 version in comparison to the Game Boy Tsuki version, promising a summary of the game's systems and features. The page details the game's premise, where players embark on a grand adventure to find the legendary treasure, Caramel, hidden by pirates across the 7 seas. You choose between 2 main characters, Sam, the popular boy, or Griner, the energetic girl. And this choice impacts your journey and the characters you'll encounter. Gameplay involves navigating the world map in your Robopon ship named Parton, which requires fuel to move. Battles are triggered by encountering enemy ships and are turn-based. Winning battles rewards you with ability increases and boat fuel, so fuel management is crucial. You can strengthen your Robopon on the ship through Otetsudai, help, and training minigames, and even breed new Robopon by planting Robopon seeds. A VS mode, focused solely on battles, is also mentioned, though it requires specific conditions to unlock. The screenshots display various aspects of gameplay, including character interactions, battles, and training sequences. This page showcases Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, Udu Keishu for the N64, a wrestling game where you can create your own wrestler in the edit mode. The game was released on January 28, 2000, published by Asmic Ace Entertainment, and is a sports, pro wrestling genre game for 14 players. It is compatible with the controller pack and vibration pack. The page focuses on the deep customization available in the original wrestler edit mode. You can change your wrestler's appearance, starting with their face and mask, and then customize costumes from a wide selection of parts. You can fine-tune parameters to create a truly unique wrestler, adjusting stats to influence their fighting style and calm opponent behavior. Further customization includes setting your wrestler's name, voice, and entrance theme. You can choose from various voices and set entrance themes, and even microphone appeal. Finally, you can customize your wrestler's moves, emphasizing that choosing signature moves is important, and you can select them from a large move pool. The page highlights that after editing, you can immediately take your original wrestler into a match. This page is a complete Shorokyu 64-2 Hacha Mecha Grand Prix Race Driving Technique Manual. It highlights several techniques to master in the game, including drifting to smoothly corner without losing speed using the 3D stick, command drift, which is activated by pressing A and B buttons while driving, and wheelies, which are performed by pulling down on the stick when slow to change direction. It also explains the pullback dash, which is activated from a standstill by holding R and B buttons, then releasing B to dash. Jumping is also detailed, using the R button and pushing forward on the 3D stick to avoid obstacles on the road. Finally, rolling special cornering involves using the R button and steering to roll the car and corner sharply. The page also includes a game information box listing details such as the title, Shorokyu 64-2 Hacha Mecha Grand Prix Race, the publisher Takara, a release date of December 24th, a price of 6,800 yen, 96 megabytes of memory, the genre as Battle Action Race, 14 players, and compatibility with the 64 gigabytes pack and controller pack with Rumble Pack. The next page is a preview of Top Gear Hyperbike. The page highlights two main features, the track editor and trick attack modes. The track editor allows players to create their own courses using a memory expansion pack for the N64. It's described as a course creation mode where you can freely design tracks, going beyond just assembling pre-made parts, to make your own special courses. The trick attack section focuses on performing tricks during races, emphasizing speed and technical riding. It mentions that, unlike road racers, off-road riders are rewarded for stylish tricks, and that the game includes a trick mode where you can practice and hone your skills. It explains that timing tricks with jumps is important to get high scores, and different tricks are possible even on small bumps, encouraging players to master various trick techniques. The information panel on the right side lists the game details. Title: Top Gear Hyperbike. Publisher: Kemco. Release date: February 2000. Price: 6,980 yen, estimated. Capacity: 128 M. Genre: Race. Players: 14 players. Notes: Controller pack, vibration pack, and memory expansion pack compatible. The page also mentions that the release date was slightly delayed, but sample ROMs had arrived at the editorial department, indicating a preview before release. This page is focused on the N64 game Top Gear Rally 2. It details the championship and random course modes. The championship mode involves racing through 6 seasons, testing speed and technique across 4 races per season, including both off-road and on-road tracks. Players must reach a certain point threshold to progress to the next season, unlocking new bikes upon season completion. The random course mode generates courses, promising a different racing experience each time, even when playing with friends. It highlights unpredictable road conditions and varied weather influencing the race. The game information table specifies the title as Top Gear Rally 2, publisher as Kemco, release date in early February 2000, price as 6,980 yen, capacity as 96 M, genre as racing, player count from 1 to 4, and supports controller pack and rumble pack. Screenshots showcase races in locations like Swiss Alps, Celtic coastline, Egyptian ruins, Congo jungle, and examples of random courses. The page emphasizes the unpredictable and challenging nature of the random courses, and the satisfaction of mastering them. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Choro Q64-2 Hachimecha Grand Prix Race, known internationally as Penny Racers. The ad emphasizes how incredibly fun the game is, stating it's so funny you'll flip out. It highlights features like collecting coins to gain an advantage, and unique car actions to outmaneuver opponents. Screenshots showcase the gameplay with customizable cars racing on various tracks, including dynamic weather changes. The game boasts car and part customization, allowing players to design their own unique vehicles and courses. The release date is advertised as December 24th, with a price of 6,800 yen. The ad also mentions it supports 1 to 4 players and is compatible with the controller pack and rumble pack accessories. This page is a sticker sheet from 64Dream magazine featuring Pokemon Gold and Silver calendar stickers for the year 2000, with a different Pokemon for each month including Chikorita, Totodile, Cyndaquil, Togepi, Pichu, Elekid, Slowking, Marill, Bellossom, Natu, Hu, and Lugia. Below this are Donkey Kong 64 stickers with characters and game art, and Robot Pankatsu 64 stickers depicting barrels. There are also stickers intended for labeling game cartridges and controller packs. This page is mostly blank and appears to be a faded yellowed page from a magazine. There are faint marks and shapes visible, including a circular pattern in the bottom left corner and a dark strip along the right edge, but no discernible game content, text, or images are visible. The magazine's From Letters section features reader opinions on several topics. One letter expresses disappointment with the delayed 64DD and its online services, specifically mentioning Giant Doshin 1. Other letters discuss the excitement surrounding the Pokemon Gold and Silver movie, the impact of the internet on news dissemination, and the magazine's role in the digital age. Readers debate the merits of focusing on the N64, suggesting comparisons with other consoles. Finally, one reader asks the editorial staff about their current game enjoyment. The illustration corner displays diverse fan art. Artwork celebrates SFC RPGs, Tales of Phantasia, Star Ocean, Romancing Saga 3, the Goemon series, co-op gameplay, Dragon Quest, character designs, Ogre Battle, sequel hopes, Star Ocean, battle system and N64 entry desires, Seiken Densetsu 2, Secret of Mana, Zelda 64, Ocarina of Time, and Bokuju Monogatari, Harvest Moon. The next page is from GameSoft Fan Club 2 and includes various sections. The top section is about Fire Emblem and mentions that a super detailed development technique will be revealed next month. It's a character popularity poll for Thracia 776 and is the last month for voting. Below that, there's a character popularity poll section with categories like Best Hero Award, Best Heroine Award, Nice Guy Character Award, Nice Girl Character Award, Famous Supporting Role Award, and Obnoxious Enemy Character Award. On the right side, under Suddenly Nintendo is releasing SFC package versions, there are reader submissions with drawings related to Fire Emblem, Thracia 776. One submission features the character Liana. Another section is titled Today's Play and features an illustration, likely also related to Fire Emblem. Moving down the page, there's a section titled Zelda Heaven, which discusses Zelda's Gaiden, likely referring to a side story or spin-off idea. Readers are discussing whether a Game Boy version or a Nintendo 64 version of a Zelda side story would come first, and which is more anticipated. There are reader comments about Link's appearance and preferences for different styles of Link. Finally, at the bottom, there is a section titled Transformation Link is Disliked, discussing reader opinions on Link's transformations and whether they are well received. There's also a small segment called Go Flasher, featuring artwork of a hand with multiple fingers. This webpage covers various Nintendo 64 games and player experiences. Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards is previewed, highlighting its unique ability copy mix and showcasing player excitement through comments and screenshots. Mother 3 FC, the cancelled N64 version of Earthbound 64, is discussed with fan anticipation, though no new information is available. Pokemon Gold and Silver gameplay, focusing on catching Pokemon, is also featured, with players sharing their challenges and experiences. Finally, the Xelgar Championship encourages player submissions of humorous or disappointing gaming stories, allowing them to share and potentially win prizes. This page is a manga titled Dream Drunker Outskirts Volume 1, Little Desert Adventure with You. It introduces Flower Village, a small village nestled between the Kara and Achi deserts, where humans and piranha plants coexist peacefully. The comic strip shows a boy tending to piranha plants and villagers living alongside these creatures. Suddenly, a villainous character appears, surprised to find fertile land in the desert, and declares the villagers will make excellent food for his bug-like companions, suggesting a conflict is about to unfold involving the piranha plant-inhabited village. The use of Pakun flower, piranha plant, strongly hints at a Mario-related theme for this manga. This page is a manga page, featuring an original story by Nakawe Sensei for 64Dream magazine. The manga seems to be set in a world reminiscent of Nintendo games, possibly related to the Doki Doki or Yoshi's Story series, given the visual style and the presence of piranha plant-like creatures referred to as Pakun flower. The story follows characters named Light and Amos, who are facing a problem with strange bugs eating the leaves of a sacred tree. Light is on his way to inform the elder about this situation. The manga showcases action, humor, and adventure in a style familiar to Nintendo fans. The next page is a manga comic strip, and the story is about a village being threatened by an old man and his bug minions who intend to eat all of the piranha plants from the village. The villagers are worried as they don't have many people who can use weapons, and even swords and spears might not work against bugs. The village elder suggests asking for help from Lord Bowser, the Great Demon King, as they have allies serving him. They hope Bowser's forces will come to their aid to protect their piranha plants from the bug invasion. The characters and piranha plants are clearly referencing the Super Mario games. This page is a manga page featuring characters reminiscent of the Super Mario universe. The story depicts an older toad-like character asking a black-haired character, Light, to undertake a mission. Another mushroom-headed toad character, perhaps representing a more authoritative figure, suggests that Light is the fastest in the village and should take Pakun, a piranha plant character, with him. The story hints at Koopa, Bowser, being involved, as Light is heading to Koopa Castle, and the narrative poses the question of whether Koopa will become an ally against the mysterious enemy that is frightening the villagers. It seems to be a promotional comic, or a fun manga page related to the world of Super Mario, likely inspired by Super Mario 64-era games. This page is part of the analog chat section, featuring several distinct columns. The main article discusses the question of whether games and movies are considered the same thing, touching on the debate around distribution rights. It mentions director Jim Jarmusch's film Night on the Planet as an omnibus-style movie with depth. The writer, a self-proclaimed pro-Russian movie person, also references films by Tarkovsky and Kanevsky, particularly a documentary about the Stalin era called Living Dead. They mention a SF fantasy film festival they attended showing a movie called Curse of the Dead Daughter Wife, a folktale-based medieval Russian movie which was surprisingly good, and The Love of Dr. Evans, a film where a KGB alien falls in love with a woman, praising its handmade charm but criticizing a movie called Fire-Breathing Comet with a robot for being poorly made. The writer concludes personally that movies and games are different, with movies being more about receiving and games more about participating. Another section is Chizuru Sisters Love Counseling Corner and a This Month's Portrait feature, and This Month's Alcohol section, which warns about drinking while on medication. Finally, the Teach Me Kanagorison column answers a question about the popularity of Pokemon in Japan and overseas, noting its huge popularity in America, with Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back being a massive hit, and Pokemon cards being very popular, even leading to school regulations about bringing them to school. The column states that good games transcend borders. This page is an advertisement for the Japanese release of Pokemon Gold and Silver for the Game Boy Color. It's a festive holiday-themed advert, wishing players Merry Xmas and Happy New Year with Pokemon. The page mentions the games are RPGs, published by Nintendo, are currently on sale for 3,800 yen, support communication cable functionality, and have a built-in clock feature. The text at the bottom says it's the most wonderful time of the year to enjoy Christmas and New Year with Pokemon. This page is a guide focusing on the early stages of Pokemon Gold and Silver. It starts by encouraging players to continue their adventure, emphasizing becoming the strongest Pokemon master. The guide covers the journey from Wakaba Town to Ubame Forest, reminding players about events like receiving an egg from Professor Utsugi. It also prompts players to ensure they are collecting gym badges and utilizing secret machines, HMs, and hidden machines, TMs. The page features a map of the Johto region, pinpointing locations from Wakaba Town to Tanchi City. Screenshots showcase gameplay in towns and routes, likely highlighting key moments in the early game progression. It mentions move machines and hidden move machines to teach Pokemon new moves, and pocket pagers. This page spotlights Pokemon Gold and Silver on the Game Boy, emphasizing interactive gameplay. Players are encouraged to utilize communication features, like trading and receiving mystery gifts, via infrared for an enhanced experience. The Pocket Printer accessory, offering the ability to print Pokemon data and Pokedex entries, is highlighted, with a giveaway promotion. The guide details Berry, Kinomi, and Acorn, Banguri, collection, crucial for crafting Pokeballs with Guntetsu. It lists methods for acquiring Pokemon, catching, trading with friends or older games, and in-game events. The Game Corner in Kogain City is also mentioned. Finally, the page advises thorough exploration, even after completing the main story, hinting at hidden secrets and a challenging Pokedex completion goal. This adventure guide, likely from Pokemon Gold/Silver, introduces two key locations, Ubame Forest and Kogain City. Ubame Forest features a quest to help someone find their lost Farfetch'd, with rewards for completion, and details the Pokemon encountered there, varying by time of day and game version. Kogain City, the largest in Johto, encourages exploration, gym battles, and investigation. The guide highlights a department store with a girl who unlocks strange mail. A city map and the department store's layout are presented, with specific floors dedicated to different items. These include healing items, Pokeballs, battle enhancements, technical machines, TMs, and drinks. This page provides a guide to the early areas of the Gold and Silver Pokemon games, focusing on Goldenrod City, Kogain Town, and surrounding areas. It details locations like the Radio Tower, Goldenrod Game Corner, and Underground Path. The guide also covers obtaining the bicycle and navigating obstacles in Violet City, Kikyoshi City. A major section focuses on Gym Leader Whitney, a cane, and her powerful Miltank, recommending fighting or rock-type Pokemon for the battle. It also highlights trainers on Route 34 and introduces the Pokemon breeding couple, where you can leave your Pokemon to breed and potentially obtain eggs. The page concludes with a list of Pokemon found in these areas and a note on the excitement of obtaining Pokemon eggs, possibly containing rare Pokemon like Togepi. This page is about the bug catching contest in the Natural Park area of the Pokemon game. The contest happens every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and features Pokemon like Caterpie, Weedle, Venonat, Paras, and Scyther. It also talks about getting phone numbers from trainers after battling them in areas like Route 35 and Route 36. Trainers will sometimes call you back with useful information about Pokemon. The page shows lists of Pokemon you can encounter in Route 35 and 36 at different times of day and mentions using Masaki's PC to store Pokemon if your boxes are full. This guide covers Route 37 Pokemon, listing encounters for both Gold and Silver versions, with variations like Spinarak in Gold and Oddish in Silver. It then moves to Anjou City, a Japanese-themed town with a strong gym leader and a shop selling essential items. The guide emphasizes battling the Kimono Girls for story progression, likely for items. Finally, it details the Anjou City Gym, led by Matoba, a Ghost-type specialist. Hey guys. The guide recommends using Dark-type moves, particularly Bite, and mentions specific strategies against attacks like Gengar's Hypnosis and Shadow Ball. Victory earns the Phantom Badge, TM30, and Obedience of Pokemon up to level 50. This page focuses on the world of Pokemon Gold and Silver. It talks about the Burnt Tower, mentioning the legend of 3 Pokemon that disappear like the wind when the protagonist approaches in the basement, and lists Pokemon that can be found in the tower across different floors during different times of day. Route 38 is described as being full of trainers for leveling up Pokemon. Route 39 mentions a Miltank farm, where players can get Kaino Mi berries, and shows a map of Asagi City, Olivine City in English, which is described as a port town with a large lighthouse. The page then introduces the gym leader Mikan, Jasmine in English, who is at the top of the lighthouse and specializes in Steel-type Pokemon, noting that she is not initially at the gym and needs help with her Pokemon at the lighthouse before she can be battled. Finally, a shop list is provided with prices for items like Super Ball, various medicines, and mail. The next page focuses on Pokemon Gold and Silver, detailing the sea routes 40 and 41, highlighting that this is the first time players can use surf in the sea, but trainers and wild Pokemon will appear. It mentions the Whirl Islands and the mysterious island between Asagi and Tanba, rumored to be where a god resides, but whirlpools block entry. The page then moves to Tanba City, Cheonwood City, describing it as the final city to be introduced in this preview. The goal here is to fulfill a request regarding Asagi's Mikan, tangerines, oranges, and defeat the gym leader. It also mentions a photography service in the city for pocket printer users. The map notes breakable rocks using Rock Smash. The shop list in Tanba City is provided, listing items like medicine and nuggets with their prices. Gym leader Shijima, Chuck, is introduced as a fighting-type Pokemon user and menacing. It advises that psychic-type Pokemon are effective against him, but all trainers in the gym use fighting-type Pokemon. To meet Shijima, you need to use Strength. Defeating him earns you the Shock Badge, allowing Pokemon up to level 70 to obey, and TM01 Dynamic Punch. It suggests teaching this fighting-type move to fighting Pokemon. The trainer names in the gym are listed as Kiyomasa, Fumihito, Tekken, and Morikazu. The next page showcases new Pokemon that will debut in the upcoming Gold and Silver games for the Game Boy Color. It's presented as a simple guide to these new creatures. The page highlights several Pokemon with images and brief descriptions including Chikorita, Slowking, Hoot Hoot, Marill, Togepi, Ladadian, Spinarak, Hoppip, Elekid, Murkrow, Fantopi, Heracross, Lugia, and Hu. The text mentions that these Pokemon will appear in the middle stages of the story in Gold and Silver, and encourages readers to look forward to using them in battles and trades with friends. A small detail for Chikorita notes its leaf's pleasant smell and its ability to sense humidity and temperature. The page also prompts readers to use the Pokemon Zucan Pokédex to learn about the types of Pokemon they catch. The next page presents a visual guide to various Pokemon characters. Each Pokemon is displayed in a grid with its name and a brief description of its type. Featured Pokemon include Sentret the Lookout Pokemon, Chikorita the Leaf Pokemon, Cyndaquil the Firemouse Pokemon, Totodile the Big Jaw Pokemon, Quagsire the Waterfish Pokemon, Stantler the Bighorn Pokemon, Suicune, Mareep the Wool Pokemon, Hoppip the Cottonweed Pokemon, Sudowoodo the Imitation Pokemon, Wooper the Waterfish Pokemon, Apom the Longtail Pokemon, Hitmontop the Handstand Pokemon, Glencoe the Bagworm Pokemon, Gligar, Houndour the Dark Pokemon, Smeargle, Sneasel the Sharp Claw Pokemon, Steelix the Iron Snake Pokemon, Sizer the Pincer Pokemon, Blissey the Happiness Pokemon, Cleffa the Starshape Pokemon, Sunkern the Seed Pokemon, and some entries are missing their type descriptions and are marked with question marks. The next page highlights Pocket Monsters and the 2000 movie Pocket Monsters the Movie, Lord of the Unknown Tower NT, and Pichu and Pikachu. It mentions that the movie was announced on December 1, 2000, and is described as the movie that will determine the Emperor of Pocket Monsters. Pichu is noted to be making its movie debut and is expected to be popular due to its cuteness. The movie is slated for summer 2000 release. The page also features a collection of Pokemon illustrations including Snubbull, Miltank, Pichu, Bayleaf, Meganium, Quilava, Typhlosion, Croconaw, Feraligator, Togetic, Mareep, Sunflora, Espeon, Umbreon, Shuckle, Raikou, and Entei. In a red box on the left, it mentions that the next issue will heavily feature Waza-related content, focusing on Waza Machine and Hidden Machine, and Johto region capture strategies, with a focus on interviews starting from the next page. It notes that this issue's coverage ends here, but the next page starts interviews about capture strategies in the Johto region, and it will also introduce Waza Machine and Hidden Machine. This page is an interview with the developers of Pokemon Gold and Silver, reflecting on the game's development a month after its release. The developers, including Mr. Masuda, Mr. Morimoto, Mr. Nishino, and Mr. Watanabe, are pictured in front of a showcase filled with Pokemon merchandise and trophies. They discuss the long development period and the relief they felt upon completion. They mention the challenges they faced, particularly the debugging process, which was intensive due to the increased number of Pokemon and moves. The debugging phase started around March 1999 and focused heavily on the battle system. The interview reveals their iterative development approach, where they constantly created and refined game elements, sometimes discarding work and restarting to improve quality. They talk about how the increased game capacity allowed them to add more features and content, but also increased the complexity of debugging. They also touch upon the difficulty of balancing the game, especially with the new Pokemon and moves, and the extensive testing required to catch bugs and ensure a polished final product. They highlight the sheer volume of move combinations, reaching over 60,000, which made debugging a significant task. The developers emphasize their commitment to quality even if it meant extending the development time. They detail the painstaking process of testing and fixing bugs to deliver a satisfying gaming experience. The interview provides insight into the dedication and hard work that went into creating Pokemon Gold and Silver. This page focuses on Pokemon Gold and Silver, showcasing screenshots and an interview with developers, likely from Game Freak. The interview delves into the game's design choices and development process. The interview touches upon the game's setting being the Kansai region of Japan, explaining the name Johto is derived from Jo, castle, and to, strip of land. They discuss the increased game size, being double the previous game, and how this allowed for a larger world and more detailed towns. The conversation also includes topics like the game's color design, the towns reflecting real-world locations, and the user interface improvements for better playability. They mention feedback from playtesters, and how they aim to make the game enjoyable for both new and experienced players. There's a comment about monsters designed by Sugimori being so well done they seem like they could not be improved upon. The page includes a screenshot of the game map, featuring the town Johto. Another screenshot shows a battle scene, highlighting the enhanced graphics and user interface. The developers mentioned they wanted to create a more comfortable and enjoyable gameplay experience compared to the previous games. Game Freak Developer Encyclopedia provides insights into the team behind Pokemon Gold and Silver. Junichi Masuda, as development head, prioritized user-friendliness, aiming for a game accessible to children. He highlighted the creation process of new Pokemon and the game's polish. Shigeki Morimoto focused on the intuitive Monster Ball system, balancing simplicity with depth. Tetsuya Watanabe discussed the improved color palette, acknowledging the limitations of the technology. Kuji Nishino detailed the strategic placement of Pokemon and their moves. The developers aimed for a polished experience enjoyable for both newcomers and veterans, encouraging exploration of all gameplay aspects. This page is an advertisement for the Pokemon Gold and Silver Strongest Scenario Clear Adventure Guidebook. It highlights special premium items included with the guidebook, a choice of colored premium game cases, blue, red, green, and yellow, a strategy map poster for in-game assistance, and character stickers that vary depending on the case color chosen. The guidebook is advertised for release on December 24th, priced at 1,480 yen. This magazine page features a Q&A about the Nintendo 64 and related topics. Questions cover the 3D stick's function during startup, explaining it sets a neutral position. Another question addresses the use of plastic for consoles, citing cost-effectiveness and durability. Stiff 3D sticks are attributed to wear and dust, with grease suggested for lubrication. The page clarifies the N64 doesn't have a hard disk, and explains the Satellaview, a satellite data reception system offering free game data. Popular titles for Satellaview included BS Zelda and BSF Zero. The Satellaview was popular in 1995-96, but is becoming increasingly difficult to find information about. This month's addictive game is Dark Stone, a 3D RPG, highlighting network play. A Dr. Pepper availability question and a giveaway are also included. This page is an article titled, Pokemon Power, All of America Enthralled. Why did it become such a hit? It discusses the immense popularity of Pokemon in America, starting with the release of Pokemon Gold and Silver, and reflects on the reasons for its success. The article mentions that the Mewtwo Strikes Back movie was released in America around November, and was a big hit. It notes that while Pokemon was already popular in Japan through anime and games, its popularity surged in America after the anime broadcast started. The article suggests that the marketing strategies employed in America, like the Get Mew campaign at Toys R Us, were successful in generating buzz. It highlights that Pokemon appealed to both boys and girls, and wasn't just about cute characters, but also about battling and trading, fostering communication between kids. The writer concludes that the success of Pokemon in America is due to its inherent appeal that resonates with children worldwide, not just in Japan, and it was more than just a fleeting trend, but a phenomenon that captivated the world. The interview touches upon the idea that Miyamoto, from Nintendo, had been working on the idea of Pokemon for a long time, carefully realizing it as a game. This page is the N64 Forum, a section for readers' letters in the magazine. It opens with reader concerns about the 64DD monthly fee and the payment method being limited to credit cards, expressing worry about a repeat of the disc system or Satellaview situations. The response from the magazine mentions Nintendo is considering alternative payment methods like bank and postal transfers. The question box addresses the topic of used games and qualitative transformation, discussing Nintendo's awareness and intentions to tackle the used game market. They mention the idea of rewriting or upgrading games, referencing the slogan, 64 changes, 64 changes, implying evolving game content. Finally, the reader questionnaire results section summarizes reader feedback. People are generally happy with the 64DD and like the term BIFAM. They enjoy seeing updates about game development and are eager to see what games will be released. Readers also mention playing games with their children and wanting games with a longer lifespan. This Dream Impressions section features 2 game articles. The first, by Mr. Inu, reviews Banjo-Kazooie's Great Adventure, hailing it as an evolution of Mario 64 due to its player-controlled camera and improved completion level. While acknowledging the game's humor and fixed camera issues, the review asserts that fans of Mario 64 will love Banjo-Kazooie. The second article, by Mr. Nunokawa, recounts the launch day experience of Pokemon Gold and Silver. He describes the anticipation, the midnight rush to a Lawson convenience store, and the excitement of finally obtaining the pre-ordered game. He vividly portrays the crowded store and the feeling of accomplishment after securing Pokemon Gold, emphasizing the game's continuation of the legendary Pokemon Red and Green and the immediate immersion in the new world. The next page is from the 64Dream Club section and seems to be showcasing readers' opinions and insights on N64 games, specifically focusing on Super Robot Wars 64, Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, and previewing the highly anticipated Donkey Kong 64. For Super Robot Wars 64, the page highlights the strength of the characters and the strategic depth with spirit commands and the ability for units to act twice from around level 30, mentioning iconic characters like Amuro, Camille, and Quattro. A reader feedback section praises Super Robot Wars 64 as the best, mentioning the loading times, the inclusion of original Game Boy storylines and settings, and the large roster of over 30 characters. Regarding Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, the page refers to it as bringing the hammer of justice to the evil of this world, and acknowledges the series' reputation for high-difficulty action gameplay in a 3D perspective. Finally, Donkey Kong 64 is presented as a highly anticipated title, evolving from the developer's research into creating engaging systems and fun, previously seen in Banjo-Kazooie. It's noted for incorporating RPG elements, minigames, and even 4-player battle modes, promising a large volume of content. The page generally gives a sense of excitement and depth surrounding these N64 titles. This page, titled Rokuyan Avenue Shopping Street, presents a feature on the best games of 1999 and a section called This Month's I'll Buy This Corner. In the N64 software section, Train Simulator Go 64 is highlighted, emphasizing its appeal as a train simulation game and the beautiful graphics of the Graffiti Kumo Series No. 1. It mentions enjoying N64 gaming at home, even if not very often. The GB software section focuses on Survival Kids, a game about surviving on a deserted island by gathering food and crafting tools. The game is noted for its multi-ending gameplay. For SFC software, Forest of Beginnings is featured, a Nintendo Power re-release. It's described as a puzzle adventure game, where the protagonist helps a girl in a forest and encounters a mysterious old man. It's mentioned as part of the Famicom Bunko series, reminiscent of disk system games. Finally, this month's I'll Buy This corner talks about games planned for purchase around January 20th. It announces the release of a rear gray and milky white N64 console commemorating JASCO's 30th anniversary. While a Mario illustration on a GB color console is known to exist, this special N64 unfortunately doesn't feature one. An Akihabara price survey from December 11th reveals decreasing software prices and numerous discounts. Go 64 is now 2,980 yen, matching its bundled version. The Donkey Kong 64 new release quickly sold out. Hardware prices are listed for various consoles, including Nintendo 64, 11,000 yen, and Game Boy Color, 6,780 yen, sold out in some stores. Extensive software price lists from Akihabara stores are included. A GB calendar notes the Taiwan earthquake delayed the release of Pokemon Gold and Silver, impacting other Game Boy software. The GB Information Bureau announces a Game Boy Write service for save data, including Mario Land 3, Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land, available in Kyushu and potentially other regions. This document catalogs Nintendo 64 software, primarily listing games for the Nintendo Power rewritable cartridge system and other titles. The first section details Nintendo Power titles, including Super Donkey Kong 2 and 3, Super Metroid, and various Konami games. Subsequent lists feature RPGs, action games like Torneco's Great Adventure 2 and Metal Max 2, and puzzle games like Puzzle Bobble and Dr. Mario. Additional categories highlight action games, Rockman X, Super Bomberman 3, shooting games, Axelay, Gradius 3, and more puzzle games. The latter part of the document includes release calendars for Super Famicom and Game Boy games, focusing on December and January releases, with details on genre, publisher, and price. This page is a special interview feature with Shigeru Miyamoto for the year 2000 from 64Dream magazine. The title, From Dolphin to Grilled Fish, suggests a wide-ranging conversation. The page sets the context, mentioning that 1999, which began with the excitement of Zelda, is ending. It highlights key events of the year, such as the announcement of the next-generation console Dolphin, which would become the GameCube, and the release of the 64DD. It positions Miyamoto as the perfect person to conclude 1999 and encourages readers to enjoy the interview while welcoming the year 2000. This page features an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto, reflecting on the year 1999. The interview discusses 1999 as a year where he managed to balance work with personal time and received numerous awards, including recognition for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. He mentions the Interactive Entertainment Awards, ECTS, and BAAFTA Awards. Miyamoto talks about the development of new hardware and software, specifically mentioning the Dolphin, GameCube, Game Boy Advance, and 64DD. He discusses the challenges and aims for these new platforms. He highlights the unexpected huge success of Pokémon and how it became a major focus, and how they are trying to consolidate the series on Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. He reflects on the internal workings of Nintendo, mentioning the need for better coordination between different departments as they move towards the year 2000 and beyond, focusing on developing unified products. He mentions that the walls between development teams for Dolphin and Game Boy have been breaking down. In a 2000 interview, Shigeru Miyamoto discussed Nintendo's core philosophy and future projects. He was the scenario director for Zelda Gaiden, Majora's Mask, at the time. Central to Nintendo's approach is Nintendo-ness, emphasizing originality and unique experiences over trend following, even with new technologies like CD-ROMs and networks. The GameCube, Dolphin project, was highlighted as a future endeavor. Miyamoto also discussed the growing importance of mobile and network features. He reflected on his evolving views on game controls, moving away from one-handed operation preferences as games became more complex and engaging. The interview touches upon the enduring appeal of franchises like Pokémon and the consistent presence of Nintendo-ness in their future consoles and mobile gaming efforts. This page delves into an interview exploring Rare's game development environment and team dynamics. It starts by referencing a story where Tim Stamper from Rare was apparently upset with the 64Dream magazine. The interview, featuring insights from Miyamoto, discusses various aspects of Rare. It mentions that Rare is located in a rural countryside setting, accessible by car and train, a bit outside of London. The studio itself is described as being in a large, renovated farm-style building, emphasizing a natural and spacious work environment. Miyamoto mentions that Rare had about 6 teams working concurrently, with 2 being the main focus, each managed by a director. The interview touches on the Stamper brothers, noting that the older brother is involved in the technical and development tool side of things. It's also mentioned that the management is based in Florida, at Rare Coinet Toys and Games, and at the time, Rare had around 200 employees. The interviewer also notes that Rare seems to be creating a comfortable office space with modern equipment and a focus on a pleasant working environment. This page offers a 2000 interview with Shigeru Miyamoto and a recap of Nintendo's top news stories from 1999. Miyamoto discusses Rareware's collaborative environment and dedication, highlighting the team's focus on improvement and incorporating fresh perspectives after completing a project. He also playfully mentions a brief diversion from game development that involved a potential visit to Beatles-related sites. The right side of the page details Nintendo's key events of 1999, including the announcement of the Dolphin N64 successor, the critical and commercial success of The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, the well-attended Nintendo Space World 99, and the launch of Pokémon Gold and Silver in Japan, along with the announcement of the Game Boy Advance. Other significant events included the launch and struggles of the 64DD, the success of Super Smash Bros. For the N64, delays in the Game Boy game rewrite service, the discontinuance of Nintendo's phone-based customer service, and Nintendo's 110th anniversary. Shigeru Miyamoto discusses Nintendo's GameCube, Dolphin, software development, highlighting his involvement in about 12 projects. A key focus is controller design, aiming for a unified, user-friendly design globally, likely retaining the 3D stick. Miyamoto is developing Mario and Zelda titles, with Mario leading development. Besides Zelda Gaiden, Majora's Mask, in 2000, he reveals 2 unannounced, new genre games targeting high school girls, potentially featuring new Nintendo characters instead of Mario. He typically works on numerous titles simultaneously, and is deeply involved with around 4 at the moment. The goal is to create appealing software and new characters for the GameCube. This page features a special interview with Shigeru Miyamoto from 2000, discussing the future of video games. Miyamoto mentions that creating new and original games is becoming increasingly important. He talks about the challenges of the 64DD system, particularly regarding data capacity, and touches upon the concept of Zelda DD. The interview reveals that Yoshi 2 for the 64DD was cancelled due to these difficulties, but there is still potential to continue the project. Miyamoto also discusses the direction of game development, mentioning games appealing to high school girls, and the changing landscape of game distribution, including the rise of network distribution and the business side of game sales. He refers to the Zelda Gaiden, which is likely referencing Zelda, Majora's Mask, as a side story to Ocarina of Time. He also mentions Yoshi's story, implied by Yossi, and the possibility of a sequel. The interview highlights the shift in the game industry towards needing guaranteed sales for packaged software, and the exploration of new distribution methods beyond traditional retail. In an interview, Shigeru Miyamoto reflects on the year's highs and lows. He was happiest about moving and the Game Boy Color's success, particularly the support from developers. He expresses disappointment in the N64's direction, and feeling responsible for unfulfilled promises. Home, he notes, is a disorganized collection of ideas. He playfully desires future meals and a more convenient communication device, while also wanting to be aware of his own position in the world. He's indifferent to the year 2000, preferring to view his life without the confines of century milestones. Ultimately, he wishes for the courage to express himself more effectively. The page also features images of the Game Boy Color, Miyamoto with a guitar, and casually. A text box states the Game Boy Color's sales, and another notes his band, Appleseeds. In a 64Dream magazine interview, Shigeru Miyamoto discussed his game development philosophy, emphasizing naturally engaging games. He revealed his team was developing new hardware and drew inspiration from his childhood. Regarding Zelda, he likened it to a miniature garden, hinting at a desire for future realism. While surprised by Pokémon's success, a Star Fox 64 sequel wasn't planned, but possible. Miyamoto also shared his New Year's traditions and insights into 3D graphics. He advised aspiring creators to innovate beyond established genres. The interview included screenshots from Star Fox 64 and Beetle Adventure Racing. When asked about his favorite food, Miyamoto humorously avoided a straightforward answer. This page covers a range of topics. Miyata discusses Nintendo's headquarters move and orders for the new building. He also reflects on the Tokaimura nuclear accident, drawing parallels to the pressures of game development. Television is viewed critically. Miyata prefers gaming content over current programming and uses older CRT TVs. A message to young people emphasizes learning, financial responsibility, and avoiding unemployment. Honda-san enjoys his PR role. Miyata reminisces about past Christmas gifts like Pokemon Gold and Silver, wondering if Famicom games are still popular. He fondly recalls his student days in Kanazawa. Finally, he addresses the 64DD delay, mentioning ongoing development of DD Shin and Talent Studio, and recommending Populous, The Beginning, as an alternative. The page concludes with a simple question about recent meals. The next page features a special interview with Shigeru Miyamoto from 2000. In the interview, Miyamoto discusses Kiabetsu, a project he has been working on since the Game Boy era and is now considering for mobile platforms. He mentions that they are still improving it. He talks about the Game Boy Color Zelda titles, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, known in Japan as Fushigi no Ki no Mi. He explains that development is progressing smoothly, with 2 software titles being developed in parallel, aiming for a spring release in 2000. Miyamoto believes Japan will improve by creating original and inventive games. He emphasizes the importance of originality and not just copying others. Looking ahead to the year 2000, Miyamoto sees it as a significant year with the arrival of the Game Boy Advance, AGB development name, and Dolphin, codename for GameCube, and new gameplay experiences. He reveals that the development name for Dolphin is Honyara no Kari, and mentions Zelda Gaiden as a potential subtitle candidate for a Zelda game. The page also details a New Year's gift giveaway from Miyamoto, featuring 3 prizes: a Donkey Kong plush doll with Miyamoto's signature, Nintendo Company stationery also signed, and New Year's gift money envelopes with Miyamoto's autograph. To enter, readers need to send in a postcard before December 28th. Nintendo's Q&A Volume 41, released around the 1999 holiday season, addresses the N64's future. Yoshio Honbu, from Public Relations, discusses the console's momentum, anticipating continued success. The Q&A thanks fans and highlights the unique work of Osaka Dream Factory, mentioning new Pokemon, Milk Tango, Miltank. Delays for Star Twins and Custom Robo are attributed to the Taiwan earthquake's impact on semiconductor supplies. No new N64 software is planned for January and February 2000, though a March release is possible, with Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, and Bass Fishing No. 1 eyed for a strong 2000 launch. While focusing on a strong start to 2000 with the N64, the representative also notes the success of Pokemon Gold and Silver, Donkey Kong GB, and the upcoming Card Hero card battle game on a new system. This page is a Q&A section about N64. It discusses the most anticipated game for the year 2000, which is expected to be Zelda Gaiden, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and also mentions Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, as another title to look forward to. It answers a question about million-selling N64 software in Japan, stating there are 5, and that Yoshi's Story is in 6th place, just under the million mark. The page also features the top 5 best-selling N64 games in Japan and overseas. In Japan, the top 5 are Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64, Super Smash Bros., The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Pokemon Stadium. Overseas, the top 5 are Super Mario 64, GoldenEye 007, Mario Kart 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Diddy Kong Racing. Finally, there is a question about N64 shipment numbers. The answer reveals that by the end of September 1999, 4.92 million units had been shipped in Japan. It is mentioned that they were close to reaching 5 million in the domestic market. The article also talks about the new clear color variations for the console and compares sales figures to North America and other regions, noting that total worldwide shipments were at 24.1 million units at the end of March 1999, with an increase of 4.62 million in the following half year. Pokemon Gold and Silver are selling exceptionally well, with 1.8 million units shipped on release and projected to reach 5 million by the end of 1999, despite potential pre-Christmas shortages. The possibility of a Mew distribution event is unlikely due to Mew's rarity, though demand could be a factor. A US-Japan Pokemon battle event is deemed difficult to organize because of game version differences and travel challenges. Local qualifying rounds are suggested. Pocket Pikachu color is in high demand, mirroring Gold and Silver's popularity, and production is being maximized to meet demand, with increased shipments expected from January. This Q&A covers various Nintendo 64 topics. The Next Generation World Hobby Fair will showcase N64 games like Kirby 64 and Custom Robo, along with a Donkey Kong 64 video. The fair will take place in Nagoya, Fukuoka, Tokyo, and Osaka. Regarding the Star Twins commercials, the Loop Plush-chan dolls are available to those who would appreciate them. The location of props from past commercials, such as Pokemon Pinball, are kept at Nintendo headquarters. A release date for Super Smash Bros. 2, Super Smash Bros., is uncertain, although its popularity is noted. Finally, Mario Party 2 features many minigames, and the article highlights Mario Party's popularity and a promotional campaign at big camera stores. Mario Party 3 is speculated to be released in late 2000. This page is from a Q&A section, answering reader questions about Nintendo consoles. The first question is about why the memory expansion pack has a red top, and the answer is that it's for easy visibility and aesthetics, designed to look good even when slightly visible in the console. The second question asks about dust on the N64. The response indicates that a little dust is okay, but too much can cause problems. They recommend cleaning with a vacuum or cotton swabs, particularly if dust is causing cartridge contact issues, and suggest cleaning during year-end house cleaning. The final question is about whether the Game Boy Advance can perfectly emulate Super Famicom games. The answer states that it is definitely possible, as the GBA's 32-bit processing power exceeds the Super Famicom's 16-bit. They mention aiming to create games on GBA comparable to Super Famicom titles like Yoshi's Island. They also hint at future network services and communication adapters, positioning the GBA as the ultimate portable game machine. While perfect emulation might be achievable, they note that achieving music CD quality sound and direct ports may require some reprogramming. Overall, they confirm the GBA's capability to play Super Famicom level games, suggesting it will provide enjoyable gaming experiences. This page is a Q&A section from the magazine. The first question is about the official start date of the Game Boy cartridge rewriting service. The answer mentions that it's expected to start sometime after February, possibly March. The service is using Game Boy memory cartridges, and they are working to increase the software lineup with licensing companies involved. The second question asks if there will be Smash Bros. Related merchandise. The answer explains that it's a difficult issue because Smash Bros. Involves many characters from different companies, including Nintendo and the Pikachu Company, which makes character supervision and licensing a complicated process that takes time. The final question asks Honjo-san about his aspirations for the year 2000. He mentions that towards the end of the year, games like Donkey Kong 64 and Mario Party 2 were released and were enjoyable. He expects 1080-degree snowboarding to also be fun. Looking forward, he mentions that there will be interesting software released from the new year onwards, with communication adapters expected around April, and the Game Boy Advance appearing in the summer, and Space World event in August. A press conference in Tokyo on December 1, 1999, announced the third Pokémon movie, Emperor of the Crystal Tower, slated for summer 2000. Part of the Pokémon 2000 project, the event detailed the franchise's success, particularly in America. Nintendo of America's Gail Tilden highlighted Pokémon's rapid rise to popularity, with impressive sales of gold and silver. Alfred Kahn of 4Kids Entertainment discussed licensing and merchandise, noting over 100 companies involved, and plans for European and South American expansion. The second half focused on the film's production, led by producer Ishihara and director Yuyama. They revealed themes of family bonds, love, and friendship. A short film, Pichu and Pikachu, would accompany the movie. Voice actors Takanaka Naoto, Yakumaru Hirohide, and Kato A also attended, sharing their enthusiasm for the project and their personal connections to Pokémon. The page highlights several news items. Pokémon Gold and Silver launched at the Pokémon Center on November 21, 1999, with high demand and pre-order only sales due to distribution issues. Nintendo's new headquarters construction is underway, with completion expected by autumn 2000. Pokémon's international popularity is booming, particularly in America, with media coverage including a Time magazine feature. Fire Emblem Thracia 776 on ROM cartridge will be released on January 21, 2000, with a special giveaway. Japanese Pokémon cards featuring a controversial symbol have been discontinued. The Giant Doshin 1 soundtrack CD is releasing on February 2, 2000. Finally, the 20th Century Toy Museum event is launching in Tokyo on December 28, then going nationwide to department stores. This page announces new Pokémon merchandise related to Pokémon Gold and Silver. There are candy toys called Pokémon Kids Series 2 and Pokémon Friends 8, featuring characters from the new games. Pokémon Accessory Mate 2 offers bracelets and hair accessories. For Game Boy owners, there are new storage solutions like the Pokémon GB Mini Carry Bag and Pokémon Collection File to keep your games and accessories organized. In the monthly new product corner, they are featuring a unique A&A Pokémon Jet keychain. This keychain is quite large and features a Pikachu character riding the A&A Pokémon Jet with balloons. The page also highlights the CSA Awards, which are being revamped and renamed to the Japan Game Awards for the fourth event. This awards ceremony aims to recognize excellent games and deepen public understanding of the industry. Nominee selection involves CESA members and general public votes, and the awards include categories like Grand Prize/Excellence Award and Best Sales Award. The award ceremony itself is scheduled for March 30th at the Tokyo International Forum. The voting deadline is December 31st, 1999. There is an application form to participate in the voting process or potentially related to the magazine itself, with fields for name, address, phone number, hardware name, software name, and maker name. This page promotes two family-friendly action games for the new year. Donkey Kong 64, the newest in the series, and Mario Party 2. Donkey Kong 64 offers diverse gameplay, including item collection, Kong battles, and mini-games for extended play. Mario Party 2 features simple controls, accessible to all ages, with characters in themed environments. Additionally, a comic strip, Link's Tiny Great Adventure, humorously depicts a reluctant Link receiving a world-saving mission from Zelda. An advertisement for LandNet DD, featuring Mr. Fujiwara, is also highlighted. Finally, Nintendo's interim financial results are reported, showing decreased profit due to currency fluctuations and weaker N64 software sales in international markets, along with difficulties in sourcing materials for Game Boy Color production. This page is a game preview for the Game Boy Color game Donkey Kong Land Crew, an action title from Nintendo released on January 28, 2000, priced at 3,800 yen. It's highlighted as a GB Color exclusive power action game, emphasizing the vibrant colors and exciting gameplay, similar to Donkey Kong 64 but for the handheld. The story introduces the Lost World search, set in peaceful Donkey Kong Land. Adventurers are gathering, and Donkey and Diddy Kong are participating, leaving Dixie Kong at home with Baby Kong. The gameplay revolves around Dixie and Dinky Kong exploring the jungle to find this legendary lost world. The page also showcases animal friends who aid in the adventure. These include Squawks the parrot for aerial transport, Squitter the spider, Engarde the swordfish for underwater stages, and Ellie the elephant. These animal friends offer unique abilities to help Dixie and Dinky navigate the game and overcome obstacles in their quest to find the lost world. This page is all about the Game Boy and Game Boy Color game Card Hero, released exclusively in Japan in 2000. It introduces the game as a trading card battle game geared towards elementary school kids. The story follows Hiroshi, a fourth-grade boy who, along with his childhood friend Kumi, gets caught up in the popular Card Hero craze and battles rivals like Masaru. The page highlights that the game's rules are learned naturally through gameplay, especially through the story mode. It details key battle points, explaining that victory is achieved by reducing the opponent's Master Card HP to 0. However, cards have barriers, meaning weak attacks won't always inflict damage. Actions in battles, such as playing monster cards or using stronger attacks, require stones, which are a vital resource. Running out of stones at the wrong time can be a big problem. Monster cards are placed in either the front or rear position, which dictates their attack targets and vulnerability. The game features 114 different card types, divided into Master Cards, Monster Cards, and Magic Cards. Master Cards represent the player, Monster Cards are for attacking, and Magic Cards provide support. A strong deck and strategic use of Monster Cards are key to winning, and Monster Cards can even level up in battle, boosting their HP and attack power, though leveling up also requires stones. The next page introduces the Chapter of Power from The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons. It details the opening story, where Link, after restoring peace to Hyrule, is summoned by a mysterious voice leading him to the Triforce. Touching it sends him to a forest where he must face trials. The page also features Maple-chan, a trainee witch who appears randomly on the field map. If you bump into her, she'll scatter any items you are carrying, initiating an item battle to reclaim them. Be aware that the music changes when she appears as a warning. Lastly, it introduces Ricky the Kangaroo, a helpful character in Oracle of Seasons. Ricky can be recruited as a companion and will help Link move faster. When Link is inside Ricky's pouch, he is protected from enemy attacks. Ricky's powerful punch attacks make battles easier. To get Ricky as a companion, you need to give him an item that he wants. The next page introduces 3 Game Boy Color titles. Firstly, Charging Card GB, Bikuriman 2000 from Imagineer is previewed, slated for April 2000. This card game is based on the popular Bikuriman series, and is designed to be easy for beginners, teaching card battle knowledge through gameplay. Screenshots show gameplay on a map screen, card battles, and characters, emphasizing the strategic card battles and the Bikuriman world. Secondly, Macross 7 Provisional from Epoch is previewed, scheduled for March 2000. This is a sound shooting game for Game Boy Color, based on the Macross anime, celebrating its 18th anniversary. Screenshots show side-scrolling shooting action with rhythm gauge elements, focusing on timing button presses to the beat of the music for powerful attacks. Thirdly, Pocket Pro Baseball from Epoch, also due in March 2000, is presented as a must-have baseball simulation game for fans. It boasts real player names and data, providing an authentic pro baseball experience. Screenshots include game menus, baseball field views, and player close-ups. highlighting features like coaching input, player substitutions, and anime-style match scenes. It mentions a unique feature where TV remotes can be used to influence player abilities. This page showcases advertisements for 3 Game Boy Color games. The first game featured is Dancing Furby, a rhythm action title from Tommy released on December 24th. It's all about dancing with Furby to the rhythm, and includes features like a composer mode for creating original music, a Furby dictionary, and minigames. You can even interact with a real Furby toy using the Game Boy Color's infrared port. The second game is Jaga Imokun GB, another rhythm action game from Pack-and-Soft, scheduled for release in March 2000. This game features the popular character Jaga Imokun, and the music is supervised by George Tokoro. Players dance to the rhythm, learning moves and enjoying 16 different songs, with a story mode included. Finally, there's an advertisement for Rayman, listed as Rayman Mr. Dark's Trap, a quality action game from Ubisoft, slated for spring 2000. This Game Boy Color title features Rayman trying to bring peace to his homeland by chasing Mr. Dark. The game promises beautiful graphics and varied stages, from jungles to rocky areas, across 5 different levels. This page showcases previews for Game Boy Color games, featuring Marino Atelier GB, The Alchemist of Marie GB, and Top Gear Pocket 2. The Atelier preview, titled Alchemy Experience Seen in Pictures, explains how to create items through alchemy, detailing steps like gathering materials from fields, receiving requests from people, and actually creating items with the help of fairy assistants. It emphasizes that the player learns alchemy techniques by reading books. Screenshots illustrate the item creation process, showing ingredient selection and successful crafting. The Top Gear Pocket 2 preview, subtitled Power Up Significantly from the Previous Work, highlights the game's enhancements, including more car types and significantly improved race scene speed. It mentions new features like a time attack mode and weather concepts being introduced, promising more varied and exciting racing experiences. Screenshots depict the car selection screen and in-game racing action. Additionally, there's a section for Super Bombless DX, calling its puzzle mode Heated. It describes the puzzle mode as a new addition to the GB version of Bombless, where players eliminate blocks on the field using pieces. It mentions that while initially simple, later stages present challenging puzzles that will excite puzzle fans. Screenshots show gameplay examples with blocks and pieces. This page is news about the 64DD RANnet service and upcoming game information. The 64DD network service launch is delayed until February 2000, and the RANnet disk distribution is also pushed back to December. However, games like Doshin the Giant and Paint Studio are still playable. There is information on the next installment of Doshin the Giant, titled Doshin the Giant Liberation Front, Big and Small Chibico Assembly, tentative title, set for release around early 2000. The game will involve swapping disks and rescuing Doshin. RANnet is recruiting monitors who can submit reports and participate in interviews, offering a year's worth of RANnet DDB course subscription as a reward after a year of monitoring. Finally, a report on the Doshin the Giant release commemoration event held in Tokyo on December 1st. The event featured appearances from people involved with Doshin the Giant, stage performances of music from the game, and a live performance by Asano Tatsuhiko, who was in charge of the music. The event also displayed original sketches and t-shirts, and attendees could play 64DD software freely in the venue. The event concluded with a greeting by Para members, who developed the game. In the 64DD information box, Sakamoto-san addresses frequently asked questions. The RANnet disc delivery is delayed due to a remake, but starter kits will be sent soon. Lump sum payments and in-store pickup are now available starting December 17, 1999, at select stores for a price of 39,600 yen, Course A, or 30,000 yen, Course B, which includes a year of membership and the starter kit, excluding the RANnet disc, Giant Dostin 1, and Paint Studio. Applications are likely within the first 100,000 units. Famicom/SNES software cannot be played on the 64DD. The 64DD Illustration Room features fan art expressing excitement for the 64DD, including interest in Internet, email, Paint Studio, and Doshin the Giant 2. This page is showcasing the Nintendo 64 disk drive game, Modern Great Strategy, Ultimate War. Developed by Sega and slated for release in spring 2000, this simulation game supports 1 to 4 players. The article highlights a new game system aiming for increased realism within the Great Strategy series, noting that it's different from previous titles. It emphasizes a high degree of freedom in action, mentioning an OT system that allows players to combine movement and attacks within a set operation time. The game features powerful battle scenes with 3D polygon graphics for units and maps. Units are positioned strategically around capitals, bases, or command posts, and their combat power is influenced by their location relative to command ranges and a support rate affected by combat value. Air units are called in using commands rather than directly controlled. Screenshots illustrate map views without hexes, ground battles, and naval bombardment scenes. This page features 2 games for the N64 console from Seta. The top part showcases Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, tentative title. Developed by Seta, known for their golf games, this title promises a realistic golf experience utilizing the N64's 3D capabilities and analog stick controls. The game features courses based on real-world locations, with detailed terrain and foliage. Players can create original characters and compete against pro golfers in tournament modes. Screenshots highlight in-game action, course previews, and character customization. The bottom part introduces Ide Yosuke no Mahjong Juku, or Yosuke Ide's Mahjong School. This is described as a Mahjong game that is easy for beginners to pick up and play, focusing on accessibility and enjoyable gameplay. It boasts a sophisticated AI for realistic 4-player matches, and includes features to help players learn Mahjong rules and strategies, taught by professional Mahjong player Yosuke Ide himself, who also supervises the game. Screenshots showcase in-game Mahjong matches, character interactions, and learning aids. It appears to be a Japan-exclusive title, as no international release is mentioned. The Illustration Special Hall of Fame features fan art inspired by Nintendo 64 games. Highlights include realistic Mario and Peach art, referencing Super Mario 64, and a Christmas-themed mermaid drawing. Other featured illustrations depict characters and scenes from Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, Ogre Battle 64, Medea, Tactics, Ogre, Divine Generals and Demons, and Zelda, Link in Battle and Under a Moon referencing Majora's Mask. Artwork from Mother, likely Earthbound 64, is also present, along with a giant no-doshin piece. The magazine staff's message thanks readers for their support in 1999, and wishes them a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The next page showcases fan submissions for Pokemon Gold and Silver. There's a Christmas-themed illustration featuring Pikachu, Pichu, and other Pokemon. Another artwork depicts the legendary Pokemon Lugia, praised for its cool and poster-like design and cold feel. One lively illustration shows various Pokemon and a trainer holding a Pokeball, noted for being drawn during the artist's sleeping time. There's also an image of the game's main character and rival setting off on their adventure, highlighting the hardships ahead. Another artwork features more mature-looking versions of the main characters, described as being in their late teens, and is the artist's first illustration outside of Zelda fawn art. One drawing of Ho is mentioned for its unique and slightly delinquent-like eyes. A CG illustration emphasizes the strong bond between a trainer and their Pokemon. Another artwork contrasts Pichu and Pikachu, humorously questioning Raichu's role. There is also a section for fan letters praising the illustrations, and a section displaying illustrations from artists under 10 years old, including drawings of Pikachu, Kirby, and characters from Mario and Donkey Kong 64. This page is showcasing fan art submissions from readers. There's a focus on Nintendo 64 games, with various illustrations of characters and scenes. The Legend of Zelda is prominently featured with multiple artworks, including one with adult and child Link, another in a Christmas setting, and one themed around Ocarina of Time, featuring the 4 sisters from the Forest Shrine. Other games highlighted through fan art include Star Ocean, Legend of Ogre, Battle 64, Star Fox, Super Mario 64 featuring Mario, Biohazard 2, which is known as Resident Evil 2 internationally, Dragon Quest, Pokemon Card GB, which is a Japanese exclusive title, and Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, also a Japanly release. The page title itself suggests it's a collection of high-level fan art illustrations. This page from 64Dream magazine is dedicated to fan contributions for the Mario Bodyguard Squad. The page features a section called 4 Coma Longhouse, showcasing fan-submitted 4-panel comics. One comic appears to be self-deprecating and humorously violent, while another comic panel mentions characters or themes with names like Debonair, Gallant, and Destin, possibly referencing game characters in a humorous context, noting them as cool and amiable. The Sharp Forms section displays fan illustrations. One depicts a muscular anime-style character named Marius Denu, and another is an elf-like character labeled the Bihirubu Link, suggesting fan interpretations of game characters. The page also lists this month's promoted members, which seems to be rankings or acknowledgments for fan contributors. Finally, there is an illustration recruitment section calling for fan letters, illustrations, and 4 Koma manga submissions for the magazine, highlighting that color illustrations and specific sizes are desired. Prizes for selected submissions include special certificates and luxury goods. The instructions detail how to submit content, requiring pen names, real names, and addresses on the back, with a deadline at the end of the month, and an address for submissions to the 64Dream editorial department. This page from Dream Technique Corner highlights helpful hints and nostalgic gaming techniques this month, with a focus on Smash Bros. Trivia. For Choro Q64-2, Hachimecha Grand Prix Race, Penny Racers 2, it details how to obtain the H-Laser weapon by placing within the top 3 in any cup of the AA Class Grand Prix. It also explains how to get the hidden Choro Q30 body by achieving a top 3 placement in all cups of the AA Class Grand Prix. The page also features player-submitted tips. For Star Twins, a tip from a player in Oita Prefecture describes a method in Stage 32, Floyd's Star Zone 2, to obtain infinite ammo and coins by entering a specific smoke-emitting building. Finally, for Super Robot Wars 64, a player from Hiroshima Prefecture shares a strategy to level up units by attacking friendly units to gain experience and funds, suggesting it can be an effective, although perhaps unorthodox method. This page is all about game techniques, featuring tips for Super Smash Bros., Kirby Bowl, and Pokemon Gold and Silver. For Super Smash Bros., there are several techniques highlighted, including using Jigglypuff and Pikachu together for a powerful quick attack, a shortcut on a stage with an abyss using Donkey Kong, and how to quickly recover and get back into the fight after being launched off stage. Another tip for Super Smash Bros. Covers how to evade Kirby and Mario's multi-hit aerial attacks by using the Z trigger to defend and counter. For Kirby Bowl, the page explains how to achieve a high score by getting a Kirby Flash bonus at the end of stages in single-player mode. Finally, for Pokemon Gold and Silver, it reveals a trick to encounter Pokemon in tall grass without even walking, by simply using the D-pad to move on the spot. This page is about Star Fox 64, detailing extra modes and hidden features within the game. It explains how to unlock the extra mode by achieving a certain HIT count in all stages of the main game. The page lists each stage, such as Corneria, Meteo, Ficina, Sector X, and many more, along with their respective HIT counts required. Once unlocked, the extra mode allows you to play Landmaster vs Pilot mode, where you can choose Landmaster or R-Wing in VS battles. It also introduces an extra sound mode, accessed by tilting the stick left and right in the sound options, allowing players to listen to the game's music. Another feature highlighted is the Great Fox Complete Recovery in Sector Y, achieved by jumping into the hatch of the Great Fox with an R-Wing after taking damage. The page also mentions an all-metal title screen change that occurs when all medals are collected in the game. Finally, it reveals a fun trick in VS mode, where players can jump while running by using the R trigger and Z trigger together, and also mentions that the Fox character heads on the title screen move when using the 3D stick. This page provides tips for 2 Nintendo 64 games, Blast Dozer and GoldenEye 007. Blast Dozer tips include achieving all platinum by earning gold medals, using the J-Bomb to reach high places, and deleting save data. GoldenEye 007 tips cover firing tank shells as Bond, playing multiplayer with multiple players using the same character, and a flying glitch in the dam level. Screenshots for GoldenEye 007 are included. The page also encourages players to submit gameplay tips, dream techniques, for a chance to win prizes, and features a ranking system. Finally, a brief tip for Pokemon Gold and Silver discusses a new Pokeball trick. This page catalogs anticipated N64 games for 2000, covering RPG, action, and other genres, including Game Boy Pack support. Notable upcoming RPGs include Mother 3, Super Mario RPG 2, and 64 Furai no Shiren. Action games highlighted are Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Zelda no Densetsu Gaiden, and Conker's Quest, which is facing delays. Released in late 1999 were the RPG robot Pankatsu 64-7 Seas Caramel, and the action game Akumajo Dracula Mokushiroku Gaiden Legend of Cornell. Also included is the release of Gauntlet, a remake of the classic arcade game, coming in March 2000. Several N64 titles are slated for release. Chanbara Fighter, March 2000. Resident Evil 2, January 28, 2000, with an exclusive X-File, and 64 Wars, Spring 2000, a war simulation that links with Game Boy Wars 2 are detailed. Other games include Flight Simulator, 99, potentially delayed, Super Black Bass 64, mid-February 2000, with fishing controller support, Panel de Pon 64 TBD, a puzzle game supporting 4-player battles, and Nintama Rantaro 64 Game Gallery, April 2000, a puzzle game for fans. Perfect Dark, 2000, delayed, is a first-person shooter. Daikatana, Spring 2000, a 3D shooter, and Viewpoint 2064, Spring 2000, uncertain. Finally, Itoi Shigesato's Bass Fishing No. 1 Definitive Edition, April 2000, and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, Kings Road Succession, January 28, 2000, featuring realistic wrestling. This article previews several upcoming and recently released N64 games. Ultra Baseball Jitsumeiban 64 from Culture Brain and Excitebike 64 from Nintendo lack new information. Goemon Mononoke Sugoroku, a Konami board game, and Choro Q64-2, Penny Racers, were recently released. Top Gear Rally 2 and Top Gear Hyperbike, both from Kemco, are nearing release in February 2000, with the latter requiring the expansion pack. Rev Limit by Sita is still in development. Slippy Shun Rajijun, a radio-controlled car racing game, has been put on hold. Animal Leader, Cubivore, hints at a unique concept. The Legend of Zelda DD, a side story to Ocarina of Time, will feature a parallel world and is under development. SimCity 64 is anticipated for a February 2000 release. This software catalog previews upcoming games for the Nintendo 64 and 64DD. Strategy games like HAL Laboratories Cabbage, featuring innovative game design, and SETA's Modern Great Strategy Ultimate War are highlighted. Also previewed is Wall Street, a stock market simulation, and Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, which includes online features. Mahjong School and Shogi, both utilizing the 64DD's capabilities, are also mentioned. For racing fans, there's the F-Zero X expansion kit. The Mario Artist series introduces Polygon Studio, enabling polygon manipulation, and Talent Studio, promising an engaging experience. A music creation software, SoundMaker, related to the Mario Artist series, is also mentioned, as is DTDD version, a card game with RPG elements. The page anticipates quality N64 games in 2000, particularly featuring Kirby and Mario. The next page is a Capcom fan club page presented as a comic strip. It humorously depicts Capcom staff being confronted by fans demanding a N64 original Biohazard, Resident Evil, game, because there has been no news since the last magazine issue in September 1999, when reader postcards were delivered to Capcom requesting it. The comic shows scenes of fans bursting into Capcom offices, demanding answers about the N64 Biohazard. The Capcom staff appear flustered by the fans' passionate demands, even resorting to fighting game-style combat moves with energy blasts. Finally, the page announces a present for readers: a Game Boy Color game, Tetris Adventure Mickey and Friends, given away to 5 people, and a set of shop posters for everyone who applied, mentioning that the application should be sent on a postcard written with number 100 and the word Capcom in the Hope Present section. The next page is an advert for a Donkey Kong 64 telephone card, as part of the 64Dream Regular Project 6th Bullet, Donkey's Teleca All Service. It encourages readers to apply for an original Donkey Kong 64 telephone card. The page details how to apply by using unused postage stamps and filling out the application form provided, and sending it to the 64Dream magazine editorial department. .com. The deadline for applications is January 21st, with postage valid on that date. They mention the telephone cards are expected to be sent out in late February. This page is an advertisement spread from 64Dream magazine, showcasing various prizes for readers. It's themed around Christmas and New Year's celebrations. The prizes include Nintendo 64 consoles in clear blue, clear red, and clear orange and black colors. Also featured is the Game Boy Player, Game Boy Color in sparkling pearl and purple clear colors, and pocket printer accessories, emphasizing their compatibility with Pokemon Gold and Silver. Game prizes include software from Hudson with Bomberman 64, and Bomberman Hero. A Game Boy Color game is also mentioned called Dancing Furby. Merchandise prizes consist of a Donkey Kong 64 poster, Doshin the Giant card sets, HoriPad Mini 64 controllers in various colors, Pokemon goods likely imported from America, and special cards related to the movie Fight Club. The page also mentions a prize of autographed artwork from the development staff of Pokemon Gold and Silver, suggesting an interview or feature related to these games is within the magazine. The deadline for applications is January 20th, 1999, and winners will be announced in the April issue of 64Dream magazine. The 64Dream magazine reader survey gathers feedback on the current issue and gauges interest in upcoming N64 and 64DD games. Readers rate the cover and articles, selecting favorites from lists including Donkey Kong 64, Kirby 64, and Paper Mario. The survey also asks for anticipated N64 64th DD titles and favorite new Pokemon from Gold and Silver. The issue features articles like the N64 new software calendar and rankings. Software of interest includes titles like Excitebike 64, F-Zero X, and Conker's Bad Fur Day. The survey announces winners from a December issue giveaway. The editor, Ankaite, explains that the usual Ankaite-chan is on vacation and advises readers on proper postcard formatting for prize entries, emphasizing the importance of correct address formatting, starting with the prefecture. This page is an advertisement for the upcoming March issue of the magazine, scheduled for release on January 21st. The next menu section highlights that the issue will celebrate the new millennium with a Draiteku Hall of Fame special, a one-year anniversary interview for Super Smash Bros., and posters of highly anticipated games. Strategy guides for Pokemon Gold and Silver and Donkey Kong 64 will also be included. The editor's voice section mentions the editorial team is working on strategy guides for Pokemon Gold and Silver and Donkey Kong 64, while also noting concerns about Y2K. The editor enjoys NHK morning dramas, Kamen Rider, and watches Blevel monster movies. Their personal 1999 boom includes Silent Hill, NHK morning dramas, Auction, Teletubbies, and Gunpei. A manga panel called N64Dream Diary is also present, featuring Mario and a Koopa Troopa. The page also includes magazine staff credits and contact information, alongside small images of past 64Dream magazine covers showcasing games such as Zelda, Mario Party, and Banjo-Kazooie. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game, Donkey Kong 64. It highlights that all 5 Kong characters are playable, and that there are plenty of minigames to enjoy. The game features a Kong vs. Kong battle mode and emphasizes the use of various items. The ad also mentions that the Memory Expansion Pack and Donkey Kong card are included with the game. The suggested retail price is 7,800 yen before tax. The game is branded with the Nintendo 64 and Rareware logos. This page is an advertisement for the Japanese Nintendo 64 game Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, King of Kingship. It's promoting the game as a sequel to Virtual Pro Wrestling 64 and announces a release date of January 28, 2000, in Japan. The advertisement highlights features like over 100 wrestlers, more than 1,000 different moves, and a mode to create your own wrestler. Screenshots show in-game wrestling action, and the publisher is listed as Asmic Ace Entertainment.